What if something you could make in 2 minutes for almost nothing was quietly doing real things inside your body, and you'd never thought twice about it? That's the question behind the clove water trend. And over the last year, it's exploded. Millions of views, thousands of people sharing their 30-day results. Some of the claims are a lot: rapid weight loss, completely reversed blood sugar, glowing skin overnight. You know the type. But here's what I want to do in this video. I want to cut through all of that, because the real story, the actual science behind what cloves do inside your body, is genuinely interesting. More interesting than the hype, honestly. And a lot of people are either dismissing it completely because of the overclaims, or they're believing things that just aren't backed up. Both of those are a mistake. So we're going to look at what cloves actually contain, what the research actually shows, and what you can realistically expect if you make this a daily habit for 30 days. Some of it's going to surprise you. Some of the things people claim, we're going to be honest about those too. Let's get into it. Cloves aren't just a flavor. They're one of the most chemically dense plants on the planet. The primary active compound is something called eugenol. That's what gives cloves their sharp, almost medicinal smell. And eugenol is the thing researchers keep coming back to because it does something unusual. It works on multiple systems in the body at the same time: anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antioxidant, blood sugar regulation. That's not common for a single compound. And the antioxidant piece, this number genuinely stops people when they hear it. On the ORAC scale, which is how scientists measure a food's ability to neutralize free radicals, ground cloves come in at around 290,000 units per 100 grams. So what does that actually mean? Blueberries, which most people think of as the gold standard for antioxidants, score around 4,600. 1 teaspoon of cloves contains more antioxidant activity than half a cup of pomegranate juice. That's not marketing. That's from USDA nutrition data. A few important things here, though. Those ORAC numbers are measured in a lab, not inside a living body. And when you steep cloves in water, you're getting a fraction of those compounds, not the full concentrated extract. So anyone telling you that clove water is some kind of antioxidant megadose is getting ahead of the science. What you are getting is a daily, consistent, low-dose supply of eugenol and a range of polyphenols, compounds that have real biological activity, even in smaller amounts. And this is where the 30-day timeline actually makes sense. These compounds don't work like a painkiller, where you take it and feel something in an hour. They work more like nutrition, gradually, cumulatively, in the background. After a week, maybe nothing noticeable. After 30 days of consistency, that's when people start reporting things that surprise them. Some of those things are real, some aren't. Blood sugar. That's where the evidence is strongest, and it's not the one most people lead with on social media. There was a pilot study, published in BMC Complementary Medicine and Therapies, where researchers gave participants a polyphenol-rich clove extract once a day for 30 days. 13 volunteers split into 2 groups, those with normal blood sugar and those in the pre-diabetic range. What they found was that post-meal blood sugar levels came down in both groups, and in the pre-diabetic group, fasting levels dropped too. Let me be precise here, because this matters. That study used a concentrated clove extract, not clove water, so you can't look at those results and say, clove water will do exactly this. What you can say is that the compounds responsible for that effect, eugenol, the polyphenols we just talked about, those are the same compounds that do leach into water when you steep whole cloves, in smaller amounts. But they're there, and this is why the blood sugar piece matters for most people watching this. You don't have to be diabetic for this to apply. If you're over 45, your body's insulin response is almost certainly not what it was in your 30s. That's just biology. The pancreas becomes a little less efficient. Cells become a little more resistant. Post-meal blood sugar spikes that your body used to handle smoothly start taking longer to resolve, and those spikes, over years, are doing quiet damage to blood vessels, to energy levels, to how you feel at 2 in the afternoon. So a daily habit that mildly blunts that response, even modestly, that adds up. The second area with real support is digestion. This one is less about dramatic studies and more about a long, consistent track record across traditional medicine systems, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, Indonesian herbal practice. All of them used cloves specifically for digestive complaints, bloating, slow digestion, nausea. The mechanism makes sense too. Eugenol stimulates digestive enzyme activity. It helps relax smooth muscle in the GI tract, and it has a mild carminative effect, which is the clinical term for helping move gas through. This is probably the first thing people notice in the first couple of weeks. Not weight loss, not glowing skin, just less bloating after meals, digestion that feels a little cleaner, and if that's the only thing that changes after 30 days, honestly, for a lot of people, that alone is worth it. This next one is the one I think matters most, and it's also the one that gets the most exaggerated online. Inflammation. You've heard the word 1,000 times. And I get it. At this point, it almost sounds like a buzzword. But stay with me here because what's happening inside your body when chronic inflammation takes hold is genuinely serious. And cloves have one of the more interesting relationships with it that researchers have found in any common food. Eugenol, the same compound we keep coming back to, has been shown in multiple studies to directly interact with inflammatory proteins. A 2023 review in Inflammopharmacology looked at animal models and human clinical data and found that eugenol suppressed inflammatory activity in arthritis, colitis, and cardiovascular disease models. More recently, molecular analysis showed eugenol binding directly to C-reactive protein, CRP, which is the primary marker doctors use to measure systemic inflammation in your blood. That's not trivial. CRP isn't just a number on a lab report. It's a signal. It tells you how hard your immune system is working in the background, fighting things that aren't actually threats, wearing itself down in the process. And I want to be straight with you about something. Most of that research is not on clove water. It's on concentrated eugenol, on extracts, on doses higher than what you'd realistically get from steeping a few cloves overnight. So no, drinking clove water for 30 days is not going to reverse diagnosed inflammatory disease. But for someone whose inflammation is low-grade and lifestyle-driven, the kind that builds up quietly from poor sleep, processed food, chronic stress, not enough movement, adding a consistent daily source of anti-inflammatory compounds, even at low doses, is not nothing. It's additive. It works alongside the other things you're doing. This is where the 30-day part becomes real, because chronic low-grade inflammation doesn't arrive dramatically. There's no single moment where you feel it happen. It starts with waking up and noticing your hands feel puffy in a way they didn't used to. Then your joints take longer to loosen up in the morning, 20 minutes, then 40. Then a background fatigue moves in that doesn't lift no matter how much you sleep. And eventually there's a brain fog, a thinking through static feeling that you can't quite explain. And the insidious thing? Most people write it off as aging. They think this is just what 50 feels like, what 55 feels like, and they adjust. They cut back on the hike they used to do on weekends. They sit out the game with the grandkids because their knees aren't cooperating. They tell themselves it's fine, that everyone their age feels this way. I've talked to people who caught this early and changed things, their diet, their movement, their daily habits. The shift is real. The morning stiffness that felt inevitable starts to ease. The energy comes back. They almost all say the same thing. I wish I'd taken this seriously sooner. I'm not telling you clove water is the answer to all of that. It isn't. But a daily anti-inflammatory habit, one that takes 2 minutes to make, costs almost nothing, and has documented biological activity behind it. That's a reasonable piece of the puzzle, the kind of small, sustainable change that actually sticks, because it's easy. The other thing worth covering here is oral health. And this one actually has some of the most straightforward evidence of anything we've discussed. Cloves have been used in dentistry for centuries, and that's not folklore. Eugenol is a real antibacterial agent. It's in professional dental products. Research published in the International Journal of Dentistry found that clove compounds can help limit enamel erosion and may support protection against root decay. When you drink clove water, it passes through your mouth first. That daily contact with the oral environment, reducing bacteria, mildly supporting gum tissue, is a legitimate, well-supported benefit that the social media crowd ironically undersells because it's not as exciting as melts belly fat, your gums, your enamel, your oral microbiome. These connect back to systemic health in ways most people don't think about until something goes wrong. So with that in mind, let's talk about the other side of this. The things people are claiming that the science just doesn't back up. Weight loss. This is the big one. You'll see videos with titles like, "I lost 12 pounds drinking clove water for 30 days. And look, if someone lost 12 pounds in a month, it wasn't the clove water. There is no credible mechanism by which a diluted spice infusion melts body fat. There are no human studies supporting this. None. The weight loss claims are the overclaim that gives the whole trend a bad name, and they're worth naming directly because they set people up for disappointment. Skin transformation is another one. Cloves have antioxidant and antimicrobial properties. We've established that. Could those properties over time contribute to slightly healthier skin from the inside? Possibly at the margins. But the "my skin completely cleared up in 2 weeks" testimonials are almost certainly driven by other variables. Hydration, diet changes, placebo effect, the general momentum that comes from starting a new health habit. The honest version of what 30 days looks like is less dramatic, and somehow more credible because of it. Week 1. Probably nothing noticeable. Maybe slightly better digestion after meals if your gut was already reactive. The taste is something to get used to. By weeks 2 and 3, this is where the digestive shift tends to become consistent. Less bloating. Meals that sit better. Some people notice they're less puffy in the morning, which connects back to everything we talked about with inflammation. Week 4. This is when the blood sugar effect, if it's working for you, starts to become something you can actually feel. That post-lunch slump that usually hits around 2 in the afternoon, some people find it's less severe, not gone, but quieter. That's the realistic picture, not transformation, calibration. And now the practical part, because people always ask, how do you actually make it? It's simple. Take 2 to 4 whole cloves, put them in a cup of hot water, let them steep for 5 to 10 minutes, drink it warm, or let it cool and sip it throughout the morning. That's it. Some people add a small piece of cinnamon or a thin slice of ginger. Both have documented effects on blood sugar and digestion, so that combination actually makes sense beyond just flavor. One thing worth knowing, cloves have a mild blood thinning effect. Eugenol can slow how quickly your blood clots. If you're on blood thinners, aspirin therapy, or you have a procedure coming up, talk to your doctor before making this a daily habit. It doesn't mean it's dangerous for most people. It means it's biologically active, which is the whole point, but worth being aware of. So here's where I want to leave you. The things that work long-term almost never feel dramatic in the moment. They feel like small decisions you make every morning that compound quietly, over months and years, into feeling like a different version of yourself. Clove water might be one of those decisions, a small one, but a real one. If you got something out of this, subscribe. I put out videos like this every week, trying to give you the honest version of what the science actually says, not the viral version. Take care of yourself.